How are you feeling about the Meta stuff? Because I just put out a video the other day, and I think that there's been a lot of doom and gloom.
Yeah.
That I don't necessarily agree with. And I said this in the video. I think it's reasonable to be upset on behalf of the people that are getting laid off and the studios are getting cut, especially being that Meta put themselves in a position. It's almost like it's kind of a terrible analogy, but it's like they adopted the children and now they're abandoning them.
Oh, that's terrible.
Right? Like these small studios that were like these indie developers making these cool games, trying to get going, and Meta comes in and buys you up and gives you a bunch of money, and then a few years later they're like, you know what? We're better off without you. Like, man, that is a little harsh. That's a little harsh. But I think that the doom and gloom narrative of this is the sign that Meta is getting out of VR or segueing out of VR. I mean, if you just go through the Q4 earnings call reports and the transcripts, which are publicly available, by the way, you can go just to Meta's website and just read through all of the transcripts and see exactly what people like the CFO, Susan Lee, and Mark Zuckerberg are saying to their shareholders and board of directors and stuff. And you can look exactly at their financials. I mean, they're a publicly traded company, so that information is just out there. How much money did they make? How much money did they lose? What did they lose it on? What did they make it on? But when you look at what they're trying to do and what their game plan sounds like it is for 2026, it very much looks like the goal is for VR to be profitable by 2027. It looks like the vast majority of their expenses over the last couple of years and in 2025 specifically were all in research and development. It was all in just trying to generate new hardware, new software, new AI stuff to make the headsets more powerful, to make the software more powerful, to integrate into what is currently the Meta ecosystem. And it sounds like, according to the transcripts, again, just according to what Susan Lee is saying publicly, that they don't expect to continue spending that money. They'll get to a point where, okay, we've hit the mark that we wanted. We've done the things that we wanted to do. We have the hardware and the software that we need, and so 2026 is going to have roughly the same expenditures as 2025. But then in 2027, they don't plan to have any of those expenditures, and so they'll start to reap the benefits of developing all of that stuff over the last 3 to 4 years.
I do wonder if they're going to adjust the pricing. Right, that was something that has been mentioned, is that they're gonna up the price on most VR headsets.
They have to.
Yeah.
They have to. Simply because the headsets are going to be that much better. You would.
Right.
I mean, I think that there's this narrative that we want cheap and, inexpensive headsets. That's been the niche that Meta has filled for a long, long time. But it's technologically almost impossible to upgrade at scale without coming out with a more expensive product. Now, the upside of that is that the older products get, less expensive, because that's just how everything works. And those things will get less expensive over time. But people forget that, when the Quest 1 came out, which is junk by today's standards,
We're talking about that, not like
people just throw these things away in mass, Like I am consistently shocked whenever somebody sends in a Quest 1 for a repair, and I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be like $50-$60 for me to fix this, for me to replace the LCD or swap out the board or whatever it is. They're like, okay, yeah, because they like that headset, they're attached to it, whatever. Those headsets were like $699 when they launched.
We bought two.
They were not cheap.
They were not
that was
cheap.
A $700 headset.
Yeah.
And, the Quest 3 is $500 now. And we get that from customers sometimes. It's like, well, you can just go buy a used one for $400 or $500 or something like that. I'd say customers, like potential customers, people who
want to look at repairs.
Yeah. And it's like, well, you can get one for like $350. And it's like, well, that's a used one. The new ones are $500. But you got to think, like, when these things initially came out, they were $700 headsets, like the 512 gigabyte like Quest 3. It was a $700 headset. I think we're going to see the same pattern. Every headset's more expensive at launch than it is like later down the road. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Every single Quest has been more expensive at launch than it is a year away from the launch.
Yep.
That's just how it works. That's how it's always worked. So when people get up in arms about the Quest 4 or the Phoenix Puffin thing being more expensive options, being in the $800 to $1,000 range, it's like every headset is more expensive at launch, and then they always come down on the price because they get the logistics figured out, and people start buying in, and they start making money back, and it's just always how it's worked.
The industry's changed or shifted for
early adopter tax.
Early adopters.
Early adopter tax.
Yep.